Hello and welcome to the Preserve Management Learning Center. I'm Marcus, and today I'll be talking about what I think the education requirements are for preserve management and to become a preserve manager. I have a bachelor's in environmental science and a master's in ecology. I also have 20 years experience as a preserve manager and 10 years of other types of work experience in the field of conservation and wildlife ecology and biology. So, first of all, you should know that preserve management is a very multidisciplinary job and vocation, and that's really what I enjoy about it. You do a lot of schooling and college from K through college, maybe even on to graduate school, and if you do the kind of work I do, you use a lot of what you're educated on, and I highly recommend is getting an education and not just jumping into the profession. So there are a lot of different kinds of undergraduate degrees these days that can lead you towards preserve management. These are just a few. Certainly general biology gives you a lot of great coursework. There are degrees in botany and zoology, which is really similar to biology, except that maybe in your last few years you take more focused coursework on botany or zoology. And then there's wildlife management, forestry, ecology, there's evolution, environmental science and environmental studies, geography, marine biology, ecosystem science. There's many different kinds of degrees that can lead you towards preserve management. What it really comes down to is the courses that you take. So this is just a short list of really some of the basic courses that you need and you should take. And some of these you might take in a graduate program because this is already a big load here. Some majors don't require the hard sciences. I highly recommend taking biology, chemistry, physics, cell bio, genetics, these kinds of courses, because if you do go on to graduate school, those are usually a requirement or a prerequisite for the graduate program. So this list here gives you an idea of all the different things you'll use with this job. And the one thing that some people forget too is recreation management. A lot of nature preserves are open to the public, whether they're state-run, federal-run, private. So you need to know how to handle people. I definitely recommend a graduate school or graduate program, a master's, a PhD. It really sets you apart, but also more importantly, it gives you that experimental design and asking questions, coming up with methods, data analysis, upper level statistics. You do a lot of reviewing of scientific papers and a lot of discussion, and that really teaches you how to review papers, understand what people are doing, and make meaning out of research projects, and that helps you design your own projects. So I highly recommend that. And I do recommend a thesis. Some graduate programs in ecology and biology just require coursework and no thesis. The thesis really takes everything and puts it together. And a multidisciplinary degree or project is really important as well. So I thought after all that, so now I give you an example of a study that's multidisciplinary that we use as part of our preserve management. So yeah, this is a science study. You might do this as an academic, but ultimately we're doing this as applied work that we're doing to help us protect and manage mule deer. So this is a typical type of study that you bring everything in to learn about deer. And we had a lot of interest in deer movement in a very urbanized area. We had some roadkill problems. We had some isolation of deer. We were worried about inbreeding. We didn't even know how many deer we had. We didn't know the sex ratio. We didn't know much about their movement and gene flow. So they might persist, but they might become inbred. So we had a lot of questions that we want to answer. So this is an example of the multidisciplinary nature of the kind of work we do. And this is, of course, a science study, so you could get this in a college or academic type setting. But nonetheless, we do all this kind of work as preserve managers, and you might be a biologist for the federal government or the state government and do these kind of projects. So First and foremost, you got to set up the study. Well, that brings in your experimental design, your statistics, and your technical writing experience. You got to do all this research and figure out what you're going to do and what questions you're going to ask, what objectives you have. Secondly, you're going to go out and collect the scat of the deer. Well, you have to know how to differentiate the mule deer scat from other species, and you need to know where to find it. So you need to know a little bit about their ecology. Third, you need to know a little bit about animal physiology and biology to know that, well, when they poop, some of their intestinal cells remain on the outside of their scat. And in those cells is the DNA. So you're using some animal physiology, animal biology, and cell biology knowledge about DNA. And so then you got to extract the DNA, and that's a biochemistry type effort. Or you then use polymerase chain reaction to amplify the target segments of DNA. Well, that's genetics and biochemistry. So you need to know these processes and how they work. Then you go and you examine these DNA using electrophoresis, creating a fingerprint, and that's physics and chemistry. Well, DNA has an electrical charge. Smaller pieces of DNA move at different speeds through the gel. Polyacrylamide gel, for example, developing the gel is a chemistry project of mixing chemicals, right? So there you're using physics and chemistry. Then you have to develop the genotypes for each individual deer to assess them individually, and that's a statistical and genetics type effort. Then when you're collecting your scat, you're using global positioning system, and now you're going to be using geographic information system to determine how far the deer moved, where they are, where family groups are located, where there might be no gene flow and isolation, things like that. Then you usually write the report, and that takes your technical writing, your mathematics, your statistics, and puts it into a final report. And last, you might give a presentation, so that's public speaking. So at the end of the day, what the take-home message of this presentation is that preserve management is a multidisciplinary field. Use a lot of your education, and I highly recommend upper education like graduate work. Hope you enjoyed it. Please hit like, and have a nice day. Thanks. Bye-bye.